Hello people of the internet and welcome to No Longer April. I don't know. Welcome to this video. I have to find something else to say now. Yeah. Is this video just an excuse to talk about horses for like 10 minutes? Probably, yes. But I'm gonna do it anyway. But there's not a horse, there's a cat in this video, apparently. Can't really get a horse in here, sadly. And well, it's kind of a strange topic. Maybe a bit less strange if you consider that horses are my special interest. But actually, in the beginning of this year, there's kind of a story behind this video, I guess. In the beginning of the year, I don't know, I heard this thing about people sort of when they're like setting their goals for the year, they're sort of naming a topic. And I realized that for me, my topic is, or I would call my topic horses. Because what that made me think about was that, you know, when I work with horses, because I do horsemanship and sort of very kind of strange, definitely not mainstream things with horses, I pay a lot of attention to how the horse is feeling and how they're reacting to me and where their limits are, and to you know, not overworking them and not sort of, if I notice that the horse isn't really concentrating properly anymore, I stop, because there's not really any sense in continuing. And what I realized is that all those things, you know, I actually take for granted when working with horses, and that I think of as absolute necessities and it's sort of unquestionable. All that respect, I guess, in a way, and I don't actually do that for myself. And that was sort of kind of a realization, actually. Yeah, so that was a very long intro, but I've sort of already explained. I'll get to the actual things that horses have taught me now. And I think, I also already mentioned the first thing anyway, which is that sort of not working for longer than you can concentrate. And it's sort of, a lot of people don't really notice when their horse is getting on, or they notice but then they continue anyway, because they've got a plan of what they want to do before they even step foot in the stable. And what actually, if you really look at, you know, horsemanship and the sort of, especially, there's a couple of people who've been getting into sort of very scientific horsemanship in a way, where they really look at scientific studies and do scientific studies of how horses actually react, and even like and there's, in horsemanship, sort of the more alternative and horse-friendly you get, the more value is put on actually what's your horse like in general and on that particular day. And just, if the horse is having a bad day because, I don't know, he stepped on something and his foot is kind of hurting a little bit, or I don't know what, he didn't get he got chased away from the food, and so now he's a little bit too hungry, or I don't know. I mean, everyone has a bad day, and animals have bad days as well. And sort of, it doesn't, trying to completely overwork then, and sort of keep sticking to that schedule that you made, it's just not going to help anyone. And in fact, it's going to hinder your, because then the next time you get into the stable, the horse remembers that sort of it felt uncomfortable the last time you were there. So then it's not going to be very, motivated. And wow, I have already gotten on topic. It's probably not even less than 2 minutes or something. No, maybe more. I don't know. Okay, where were we? I completely lost my point there. My point was that there's not really any use of working for longer than you can concentrate. And yeah, that's something, and actually that you have to learn how long you can concentrate and how long, in horsemanship, how long your horse can concentrate. But you have to learn those things for yourself as well, and you start to get a feeling in a way of know when you need to stop because you're not concentrated anymore. And then there's a little use in terms of actual learning of continuing more over that. And it's sort of it's the respectful thing to do to stop when your concentration is sort of not very good. That would be the respectful thing to do with the horse, to say, okay, that's how long we could concentrate. We're gonna stop now, because otherwise we're just both gonna get annoyed. But then that's also a respect that you kind of have to pay yourself to stop when your body is telling you that it needs a break. And with that also comes, sometimes you just can't concentrate, or something just isn't happening that day, and that's sort of also it's a respecting thing. A lot of these things are just, actually looking at what happens and sort of looking at it in kind of like, sometimes if we have a certain goal, we can get very attached to doing that and to achieving that, and very emotionally attached to that. And so we get angry or frustrated when it's not happening. But sometimes, there's just days where that isn't happening for whatever reason. And then there's no use in trying to do it anyway. And a funny thing that actually I realized, there's some specific horsemanship people, they talk about reverse psychology a lot. And sort of, there's some exercises sometimes, especially if you're working with kind of lazy horses, or very sort of horses who are like very much think they're smarter than you and will do anything but what you're trying to do, usually because their sort of trust has been kind of misused by people, and they've had enough at some points, and they're just not gonna follow anything. If you say something to them, they sort of immediately go no, even if actually they may even want to do it otherwise. They're just, because you told them to, now they're not gonna do it. And you sort of sometimes you kind of use reverse psychology. For example, if we have a horse that just doesn't want to go forward, you're going to do all kinds of exercises except go forward, and at some point that horse is going to say, you know what, I think I want to go forward now. And it's sort of, I've actually had this experience today, kind of. I gave myself a day of not wanting to do anything, because I've been telling myself that I need a lot of things to do for the last day. With that was not a grammatically correct sentence. And actually today, where I didn't have any plan to do anything, I've probably done more than I would have if I had decided to do something. And it's sort of this kind of reverse psychology thing, that sometimes if you don't want to do something, or your brain is refusing to do something, you just need to set yourself to the goal to do everything but that, and at some point, the other thing will happen, maybe. It's not a guarantee, I think, but in general, I think, I've probably talked about a lot of things now already. No, actually, there's one. And then there's something when I'm working with horses, there's one thing that I get told a lot, and I very, very often get told that I have a lot of patience with horses, and that just a lot of some people, of whose horses I've worked with, and just other people who I know who know stuff about horses or don't, usually when I start telling them about what I do with horses, one of the first comments is that I must be so patient, and that, they could never do something like that, because, well, sometimes if you've got like a particularly lazy horse, a particularly afraid horse, or whatever, with almost all horses, I would say, or at least with many, the first thing that you do is just you sort of stand there, or you sit somewhere where the horse is, and just wait until they decide that maybe you're interesting and they would like to look a bit closer. And then you try to teach them that usually horses don't like going into an arena, like the sandy place where you ride them, because they associate that with having to work, and a lot of the times being in pain. And so you just go into the arena and you just do nothing. You maybe got the horse on a halter, on a rope, or maybe even not even that, and you just go there and you sit there until the horse relaxes, which can take quite a while. I've worked with a horse. First of all, with that horse, I couldn't even, it took me like a few months to even be able to approach him, probably not because he was afraid. He was just kind of, he kind of learned that he was afraid, but he just he'd learned that if he just sort of stood still and didn't do anything, that nothing would happen. And so it was very difficult to sort of get him to relax. And so for the first few months, I just came to the stable and I stood somewhere else and waited until he relaxed. And then I took a step closer and I waited until he relaxed again. And I realized that that sort of sounds like a thing that's very patience intensive. But it's actually, I don't think it needs patience. It doesn't need patience if you're not doing it to achieve something, but you're doing it because you like doing it. If you go to the stable with the idea that I'm just gonna spend some time with the horse, and that'll be great because I like spending time with horses. Instead of, thinking, oh, we need to do, 10 rounds in canter, and I don't know, some sort of exercise-based whatever. Then, waiting for half an hour until your horse relaxes will need a lot of patience. But if you're going there to spend time and you don't have that idea of we need to achieve something, if it's a lot of times, a lot of learning a lot of things, whether it's a horse learning things or humans learning things, it just takes time. And it takes a lot, spending this time takes a lot less patience if you're doing it for the process of doing it, and if you're doing it, or if you at least try to enjoy the process. I know it's not always easy. But yeah, that erases the need to even have to need patience at all. And I think in the end, a lot of these things, and sort of the realization that I made for myself, was that it's about respect in the end. And well, with horsemanship, you need the knowledge about horses to do that, but you also just need to respect them, and you need to respect boundaries and feelings and whatever else. And I just realized for me that all of these things I wasn't really taught to have for myself in a way, or I was taught not to have them, I guess, because we expect so much of ourselves. And I don't know, for me that really was like quite the realization that, all this respect that I've spent years sort of perfecting and trying to extend to every part of dealing with horses, that I actually didn't have that for myself. And I'm still working on, having that and being able to do that. But I just wanted to talk about this. I have no idea if this is in any way going to be watched by anyone. But yeah, I think that's the video. It's 2 a.m. I should probably, stop rambling on about horses. Yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, I would very much appreciate a like. Or if you haven't already, if you would subscribe to this channel, in which I usually talk about more autism related things. This wasn't very autism related. It kind of was. And yeah, if you have enjoyed it, I would very much appreciate it if I would see you, not really, but you would see me next week. Goodbye.